So in this video, I'm going to be telling you how you can get audio from your computer and put it onto one of these. Today, we're going to leave no stone unturned, and we're going to do a step-by-step guide for you to get your audio into the looper, whether it's a track you've created yourself or a backing track from somewhere else. Hey, it's JP, welcome to the channel. If you've never been here before and you want to learn all about live streaming for musicians and looping, then click the subscribe button, hit that bell, and you'll know when the next video is out. Now then, one of these. Today I'm going to use the RC500 as an example, but this process also works for an RC5, the 500, the 600, the 505 Mark II. Any of the Boss loopers that use the RC Tone Studio software, but you're going to need a couple of things. First of all, your looper, whichever one it is, the right cable to plug to your computer, and of course, a computer. Now in this video, I'm going to show you the official way to do it. I'm then going to show you my way I do it. And by the end of this video, I guarantee you'll be able to get your audio onto a looper. This is the most common question I get all the time. How do I get my audio or a backing track onto one of the loopers? But more importantly, what I want to do is I also want to loop with it. So I want to make sure that the BPM's in time and it's all synced on a memory ready to go. So first of all, we're going to need a track. We're going to need some kind of audio. Now there's two kinds of audio that we can put on. There's one that is actually just a small snippet that you're going to use as a loop, or an entire track. So therefore you're going to actually put that entire track on, hit play, and use it like a backing track machine. Now I did a video about using the RC5 as a backing track machine, and it is the same process, but there's a couple of tweaks if you're going to use it for looping. So method number one is the official way, which is the RC Tone Studio. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is go to boss.info, that is Boss's website, and we're going to go over to the product. So we're going to go over to Loop Station. I'm going to pick the RC500 because that's what I'm using. Then what we need to do is we need to go to Downloads. When you move over to Downloads, we've got the Boss Tone Studio for RC, version 1.3 for Windows. Now I don't know why at this point in time, but Boss haven't put the Mac version on this page. So the way around that is actually, if you go to the RC600 page, then go to Downloads, you'll actually see it there. It's actually Tone Studio for Mac, which is what I'm on, but you've also got the Windows version. Now they're both on 1.3, and if you go to the Mac version on the RC600, it actually shows you that Tone Studio is available for all these different loopers. So you can see here, it actually says the models compatible with Boss Tone Studio are, and you've got them here. Now, the RC202, you set the USB mode to mass storage. You've got to make sure for version 1.3 that these ones here, the RC3, the 30, the 300, the 505 are actually on the latest version. The RC5, 500, 505 Mark II, and 600, they just work. You don't have to change the software on the looper. So you scroll down and it actually tells you what you need to do, and then you can install the app and then launch the app itself. So what you do is you click agree and then you click download file, and it's really small. It doesn't take long at all. And there we go, it's installed. So now if you've just downloaded that and nothing else, you'll only see this one, which is Boss Tone Studio for RC. I also have drivers for the Mark II and the 600 and the rhythm converter as well, but it's this one that we're interested in, and we give it a click. Now whilst it's booting up, one thing you'll notice is that it's really, really simple. There are some sounds on here that we can throw in as loops. So you have track sets and information, and there's different ones you can look at and play with. There's even some sounds that you can listen to as well. So you can hear the different ones and download them individually. They also show the BPM, and you can actually grab them and throw them into the looper if you want to. But what we're interested in is connecting the looper to the computer so we can see it, and that way we can go connect, import, and export. So now we've got the software, we need to plug this in. Now, of course, with the RC500, you've actually got a power cable, which I've got here, and that's fine. I can plug that in. And then we also need a jack to actually turn it on, but we also need the USB. Now this is micro USB, so you need micro USB to whatever you're using. I'm using a new style Mac, which is USB Type-C, so I'll either need an adapter or a dongle or something like that to plug in. But the first thing is to plug it into the looper. So I'm going to do that before we even power on. So now that's in there, you can see that there. Now the other end's actually going to go into the looper. This is USB-A. I've got a little adapter that's USB-C. If you need that adapter, I'll put it in a link for you to go and grab one. So this little adapter is by Benify. It's a USB-A to USB-C adapter. So I can just plug this into here and we're ready to go. Now the final piece of this is obviously this is ready to go. It's plugged into the computer, but we need to turn it on. So if we do that now, I'm just going to grab a cable. Let's plug it in to the out part there. As we plug it in, it switches on. But also at the same time, what's happening on my computer is it's asking me if it wants to access this. On a Mac, it says, do you want to connect the Boss RC500 to your Mac? So you say yes. Now what you'll see is if you give it a second, a couple of things. First of all, on my Mac, I've got a folder. The folder just says Boss RC500. It just looks like a hard drive. And on the actual RC500, it says editor connecting with 3 little dots. And then once that happens, we'll actually see the Boss Tone Studio just kick in, and then you'll see that the other 3 options become available. One is disconnect, which means it's connected, so it gives me the option to disconnect it, and then you've got import and export. So now we'll move over to the Mac, and we'll have a look at what we need to do. So now on the Mac, in the top right-hand corner, you can see it says Boss RC500, and this is just a hard drive. If you give it a click, you can see it says Roland, and we can click into there. We've got data, which is memory 1, memory 2, and system. And then we've got WAV or WAV, and each memory is here. You've got memory 1, track 1 and track 2, memory 2, track 1 and track 2, and you can see I've got actual WAVs on there. That is obviously the hard drive, and we're going to get into that in a second. But now what we've got is we've got the Boss Tone Studio. Now I've made the Tone Studio a bit bigger just so we can see it, but we've actually got all these loops, but we've also got disconnect, import, export, and about. As I said before, these 3 have now lit up. So if we go to export, we can actually see which memories have got loops in. And you can see I've got 002_1 WAV. So memory 2, track 1 WAV. Memory 2, track 2 WAV. And we've got them there. So I can click that and click play. And that's it. It just plays once and it shows you the format. If I click this one, so what I can do is I can grab these. So if I say for this one, I want it to be 32-bit float, and I'm going to export it. It then asks me where I'm going to put it. So for now, I'm just going to put it on my desktop, and it saved it as a WAV right there. So that's obviously a loop that I created inside the RC500, and then I've exported it out. Let's do it for the other one as well. So let's go export. Let's go to number 2. We'll do 32-bit float. Let's export that one as well. And now it says music because there's more than one track, but there they are there as individual tracks. Now that's actually pretty easy getting stuff out of it because you're just extracting the audio from the looper. Where most people fall down is how we get stuff into the looper, either through the format that you need or the way it's been designed. So let's look at that now. So for the first example, we've got the tracks that are actually made by Boss. They are royalty free and you can grab them. So we've got this one here. It's Modern Pop 2. It's downloadable. It says it's 92 beats per minute and the key of C minor. So we can click download on that and it's asking us where do we want to put it. So because the RC500 is connected, we can actually put it somewhere. We can actually put it on one of the tracks. So I'm going to actually put it on memory number 5 on track 1 and just click download. This now downloads the track and then you don't really have to do anything. And as you can see there, it just disappears. It doesn't actually show you anything. But let's go to export. And we can now see it's there. It's even got the name. So it's modern space pop2.wav. And if we give it a click, we can play it. And that's the whole loop. Now, the great thing is I could obviously click stop. I can delete that. I can also export it and actually take it back out and put it onto my computer. What I want to do is I want to import from the computer to the RC500. So I'm going to click import. It brings up a folder and then we need to find our music. Now, I've actually got some stuff here straight away. I've got quite a lot of things here, but let's just grab this one. It's a small wave audio format. And it's the drums for Bolero, and we can grab that and say open. Again, it's just where we want to put it. So if I put it onto memory number 4, track 1, and click import, it's imported it and it's done it straight away. Now, just to show you this before we go any further, let's go back over to where that is and we have a quick look at it. So it actually is 44.1 kilohertz. Sample bit is 32, stereo WAV, and it's even got a space in the name. Some people say that you need to have no space. That's not true at all. And we can prove that because we can go to export. Let's go to the track. Let's play it. There it is. And it's ready to be used. Now to use this, all I need to do is click disconnect, and this will disconnect the actual RC500 from the computer. To double check this though, what I normally do is I normally go up to here and actually click on the hard drive of the 500, and let's go into the WAVs. So let's go to memory number 4. There is Bolero Small, and I can see it there. And there is track 5 Modern Pop 2. So I know that actually inside the RC500 before we eject it. So if I click disconnect, it'll ask me, are we going to disconnect? We click OK, and it's gone. Now at this point it looks incredibly simple, so people are then going to ask, why isn't mine working the way it should? That might be because of the format you have or the way it's actually been saved. Now you need to save it as a WAV. It can't be an MP3, it can't be any other format other than WAV. Yes, you can have spaces in between the words. It needs to be 44.1 kilohertz, but it can be 16, 24 or 32-bit float. As long as those parameters have been set, then you shouldn't be able to have any problems transferring your WAVs in or out of any of the loopers. Now the second method, you've already seen it. You don't actually need the Tone Studio software to transfer stuff across. If I'm being honest, it's a cute little player, an importer and exporter, but if you've got a Mac, for example, all you need to do is double click on the hard drive. There you can actually import and export and put it in those different folders. Let me show you. So now I've got editor connecting, and we can see RC500 there. I'm actually going to close Tone Studio down. And when you do this, of course, it actually ejects the RC500. But what we can do is if we actually unplug it and plug it back in again, then you'll notice that nothing actually happens, because what we need to do is if we go into menu and then go across to storage and give this a click, we can turn storage on and it'll say connecting. This way it actually connects to the Mac or the PC without using RC Tone Studio. And it's exactly the same process. We've now got this Boss RC500 folder. We can go in, we can see WAV, and they are all the 99 memories, all the different memories we've got there right up to 99, and then you've got temp. So ignore temp, and then what we've got is we've got memory 1, track 1, memory 1, track 2, memory 2, track 1, memory 2, track 2, etc, etc, etc. There's our Bolero on memory 4, track 1. There's our Modern Pop 2 on memory 5, track 1. So for example, I've got stuff on memory 6, no, then what we could do is we could actually just drag a WAV file into that folder, eject the RC500, and it'll be in there. The other thing as well is the RC500 drive that you get on the computer, whether it's on PC or Mac, that is the RC500 in its entirety. And what we can do is we could actually make a copy of this. There's a couple of ways you can do this on a Mac. I can just drag this out and then it's going to make another folder. So it's going to make a copy of that folder, and then it's just going to copy the lot, which is fantastic. So it just copies all the audio straight away. It's taken about a minute or two, 5 seconds, there we go. And it's pulling it from the RC500. So now that folder, which is called Roland, is exactly the same as this one, which is inside the RC500. So this is a great way to back it up. And that way you've got a copy, an entire copy of your RC500 looper or your 600, whatever you're using, into your computer. Alternatively, if you've actually used this and you've made changes, so you've put a lot of stuff in here, if you then copy this over to here, what it's going to do is it's going to basically come up with this. A folder named Roland already exists in this location. Do you want to replace it with the one you're copying? And you can just say replace. Now you have to be very careful with this, because if you've messed with the data, you can corrupt your RC500. But if you've just placed WAVs in to the RC500 folder, you can hit replace and it'll copy the lot over. Now I'm going to stop. I'm not going to let it do that because I don't want it to do that at the moment. So the next part of this is the looper itself. And there's a couple of settings we need to change depending on what you've done. Now for the first one, we had that short sample for the drums and we put it on track number 4. Now you can see there's a tempo here of 81 beats per minute, but I know that's not the case. If we press play, it's not in 4/4 time. But it is actually a good loop. It's playing it directly from beginning to end, and it's looping it perfectly. However, if you want to change it over so the tempo is right, if I started the rhythm now, it would sound really out of place. And I'm going to do that now just to show you. Now they both start at the same place, but because the tempo is set as 4/4 and that sample is actually a 5/8 beat, then it's kind of out of sync. So how do we change this? Well, put quite simply, we can't. What we have to do is you have to actually preset the memory before you bring the loop in. Just like any recording on any of the loopers, the 500, the 600, you can't change the beat and you can't change the time signature after something's been recorded in. So if I hold this down and go to rhythm and we scroll across and we go over to here, I cannot change this from 4/4. What we have to do is we have to actually erase this, change it to the right rhythm, and then save the memory. Then once you've done that, you import the loop. It figures out the BPM from there, and that way it's in time. Let's go over to our second loop, which was the one we picked up from Boss. Now the thing with this one is this is actually 92 beats per minute. It even told us what key it's in, and because of the length of the loop, it knows that exactly. So the first thing I'm going to do before I play it, I know it's really loud, so I'm actually going to just bring the track level down a bit, and we'll hit play. See it's in time. I'll just bring this down a little bit. There we go. So we can see it's in time. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and go. So it's perfectly in time because it's been made by Boss for the loopers. It's 92 beats per minute. So if we go to tempo, we can see it's 92 beats per minute. We don't have to do anything. If you've got something that's 4 bars or 2 bars and it's a certain beats per minute, it will pick it up and it will actually just measure the length of the loop and do it. Now this is in 4/4 and that's really easy. The last one I want to show you is importing an entire track. And what do we do with that? Because the tempo may not be the same, and also I don't want it to play with the tempo. I just want to hit play on track 1 and let it play through. So this is on track 6. I've actually renamed it and it is called Watching Me. It's a track by Tokyo Wasteland, which I'm part of, and this is the whole track. This is everything. So if I was to play it right now, we'll just turn it down again. It's a pretty heavy track, but I know that that track is in 100 beats per minute, and we can see here from the tempo this is actually set at 130. Now the problem is that if I wanted to change the tempo for whatever reason, then it's going to start altering the audio. So if I put it to what it should be, which is 100, it's too slow. And that's not 100 beats per minute for the track. So if I put this back to where it was, if I just hold that down, it'll throw it back to 130.6, because that's how the track was left when I imported it. And again, this is where a lot of people fall down, because they start playing it and go, that's not the right tempo. I want to be able to loop something in the same BPM as this. So they change the tempo, it alters the sound, and people freak out. What we're going to do is we're going to disassociate the track from the looper. It's still going to play when I want it to, but it's then going to be not connected to the actual rhythm or the BPM. Then we're going to tell the track to be that BPM and then click it back in. So we actually go into track 1 edit, we go across, and it's slightly different on different loopers, but we go to tempo sync and we turn tempo sync off. Now what I can do is I can play the track. You can see this is 130.6. I can move it and it's completely disassociated. Now the great thing is that the track starts bang on when I press the button because I've designed it that way. But you can see there that the track doesn't actually click in with tempo sync straight away. So now it's at 100. What we're going to do is if I just move this back over, let's cut to tempo sync on, and we're now at 100. It changes it. And that's the problem. That's the problem we don't want. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave tempo sync off. The great thing is now I can go over to track 2. Now track 2 is tempo synced. So we can actually sync it to the tempo of 100 beats per minute and it'll be in time. Now remember, track 2 is still tempo synced. So if you record something and it's just slightly out, it'll jump that over. So if I record a 1, 2, 3, 4 and I'm not exactly at 100 beats per minute, the problem is that it'll start coming out of sync. So what we now need to do with track 1 is we need to make sure that loop sync is on, but tempo sync is off. Therefore, what we can now do, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 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 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so you can carry on using the other track of the looper. You want to add something on, maybe you want to add a couple of things live, but it's in time with the backing track that's on track 1 because you've got loop sync switched on, but you've got tempo sync switched off on track 1. Now another question with the USB on the RC500 is, can I use it for audio? You can use it for transferring things like we've just shown you, but you can't use it as an audio interface. The only way you can get audio into a computer live is by using the jacks and plugging that into a separate audio interface. Now this video has actually been part of the RC500 course, which is my dedicated course to that looper, taking you right from the very beginning to some really advanced setups. There's a link in the description box, and at the time of recording this, there is a 15% discount whilst I finish up the remainder of the chapters, but you can actually get access to the course right now. On the 1st of February 2024, that discount will go. So you've got a couple of weeks left as I'm recording this right now to grab that discount for the RC500.